It's very exciting. We are live and direct, coming in from Southern California. Say hi, Steve.
Hello, Podfeed. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, we have a special guest sitting in Steve's den. Do you want to let her be on camera?
Yeah. Let's see if we can do this.
Something disconnected. Whoop. Let me make it wide. There you go. Say hello to everyone, Dr. Gary. You can talk. Tell her to talk, Steve. Steve, you're muted. Steve, something clicked off when you moved your monitor. I heard it go click and you are no longer, your audio is gone. Tulsi Tiele, Oklahoma. Okay, we can't hear Steve and Marianne, but Dr. Marianne Gary is in the house, which is very exciting. I think I will entertain myself by, tell me if you guys can hear this. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right. You lips are moving. Sound is gone. No, I heard a click right when you turned the, I'll tell you if I hear you. I heard a click right when you moved the computer. So, all right, good. Ian says he can hear it. All right, it's time for roll call. We have Steve and Kevin. God is a Democrat. That is, I made a bet that if whatever Marianne put her name down as, that someone would guess she was George. That is Dr. Gary, not George, but good call, Sandy. And we've got Ian and let's see. I don't know if General Troy's there. I know Joe LaGreca is not there because he should be here because I'm going to talk smack about him, but he's at a party. We got Klaus from Germany is apparently in the United States, so he can stay up late enough. We have John and Rose and Sandy and George from Tulsa bringing up the rear. So looks like Steve has left. I assume he is going to come back in a moment. Doctor is in the house. Yep.
Did that help at all?
Yes, it did. What'd you do? Just get out and back in?
Yeah. Something happened with my audio.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're back.
All right. We did introductions. I think I am ready to start the show.
Excellent. I'll go on mute.
So I do want to tell everybody, I'm going to explain why this is, but I'm not going to explain until the very end of the show. So I'll give you guys a heads up. It has been suggested by Joe LaGreca that I do chapters in my podcast. And I don't want to do chapters because it's extra work for me. But stupid Dave Hamilton explained a way for me that it might be easier. I'm going to try to add chapter markers. I'm willing to bet this is not going to work. But what I want you guys to do is whenever I stop and talk to you, that means it's probably a logical break. Remind me to put in chapters. So start yelling chapters. So Kevin, all those times you say save, now I want you to yell chapters right after you yell save. Okay, everybody understand your assignments.
You mean every time you stop between blog posts or articles? Subjects?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll know for sure where I should be doing them. Yeah, I think the introductory stuff, I don't think I'll do. It'll just when I hit the blog post, okay?
All right.
Can you put paragraphs? You guys are killing me. Okay, ready to go on mute, Steve?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, November 19th, 2017, and this is show number 654. Well, Dr. Marianne Gary is back on Chit Chat Across the Pond this week. If you have never heard her before, absolutely run away now. She has single-handedly, over the years, destroyed everything we think we know about memory by telling us about her scientific research at the University of Waikato in New Zealand and all about how she implants false memories in people. In what she claims is her fourth time on Chit Chat. I thought it was third, but my memory. Anyway, we essentially did a Q&A session. It's absolutely marvelous. You're going to learn a lot. You might laugh a little, and you will find yourself doubting everything you know about your own memory. I do want to mention there's a link in the show notes, in both show notes, in the Chit Chat Across the Pond and in the NosillaCast, to a talk that Dr. Gary did called The End of Facts at Claremont Graduate University. Steve did the video, captured it, got it up there so everybody can see it. And it's really, really cool. So you guys should go watch that because it's a fascinating story. She is actually in the live show right now, doing some snark in the live chat room. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. Well, this week I had the great honor of being a member of a panel on Patrick Bejaw's The Phileas Club. The episode was entitled Life as a Woman. The other panelists were Wendy Dunford, who is a therapist who grew up in Utah and currently lives in Sweden. There was Shay Renee, an African-American television producer living in the South, and Marlene Vente, an artist from the Netherlands. Patrick did a phenomenal job, as he always does, of drawing us out and helping us tell our collective stories. Now, you know I like to talk, but these women were so interesting and compelling in telling their stories that I found myself simply listening for most of the show. And that's unusual for me. I didn't find myself wanting to interrupt, except, of course, with jokes from now and then. The conversation made me realize that women have a shared secret that we've never shared before with each other. And that was really interesting to me. Now, I know this is way off the tech topic, but I really feel like we're bringing about positive change just to realize how prevalent these problems are. The reaction from the male audiences of both Chit Chat Across the Pond and the Phileas Club have been overwhelmingly positive. That just the notes and letters we've been getting are just fantastic. So I'm really glad we got a chance to do this. I hope you give it a chance. You'll give a listen, I should say, over at FrenchSpin.com and look for the Phileas Club. Okay, so I just stopped, which means chapter marker.
Chapter marker. See how good I was at that?
You were very good at that, but I fixed this typo once. I don't understand how it came back. Feel was spelled F-E-A-L, and I already fixed that. Right. Okay, so this is going to be how much information do I have to put into the Command Shift Enter. Add a chapter marker, and it's going to be, I guess I just got to shrink up the title. I can't put that long title. Add workout health via iPhone. All right. This is actually going to be Sandy's tiny tip, but I'm going to sneak. Oh, cripes. So the other thing I need help with is remembering to add the tiny tip music every time. I think I have forgotten it from time to time.
All right.
So I'm about to do a tiny tip. So I'm going to drop the music in, and there's going to be, I'm going to play the tiny tip music every single time. You think that's awesome?
It is. I forget what the tiny tip music is like.
It's the real dee 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 one.
Oh, yes.
Okay, here we go. Track. Okay. Well, this tiny or possibly nano tip came up when Sandy Foster asked in our Google Plus group over at podfeet.com/Google Plus how to add a workout from the iPhone. I responded that I didn't think it was possible, but luckily Alistair Jenks stepped in and he helped her find it. Here's Sandy's nano tip. I need to check the distance between those. One moment. I'm here. Why is that not? What the heck is going on? Me? Or the Phileas Club. There we go. Well, this tiny or... Okay, so now we gotta go find Sandy's audio. So, somehow I have started to collect people from the Netherlands. I have been in conversation with 4 different people from the Netherlands inside of 1 week. Okay, here we go. Come on, Sandy. And he helped her find it. Here's Sandy's nano tip.
Hi, Allison. This is Sandy Foster with a quick tip, thanks to Alistair's help. I sometimes forget to start a workout on my Apple Watch before beginning the workout. That's usually because I'm with friends and we get talking. Oh well. I had a difficult time finding out how to manually add a workout, but here's how it's done. Thanks again to Alistair's help. Open the Health app on the iPhone. Now go to the bottom of the page and tap on the second icon from the left. That's the Health data icon. On the new page that opens, you will see 4 large colored squares. Tap on the one that says Activity, which will take you to a new page. Scroll down a little to see This Week, and under that, Exercise Minutes and Workouts, Tap on Workouts. This takes you to yet another page. This new page is the one I've been searching for. In the top right-hand corner is a red plus sign. Please tap on that. Now just tap on the activity type field to get a selection of different workouts in a scrolling section at the bottom of the page. Select the appropriate one and then tap on the starts and ends sections in turn to set the date and time of the workout, as well as its duration. At the top of the page, tap Add, and you're all done.
Okay, I had something to add to the end of that, and need that to refresh because I wrote some stuff at the end.
Chapter marker.
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
I'm still on this. Yeah, there it is. All right. Let me go here. But good job, Steve. Good practice. All right.
The page, tap Add, and you're all done.
Well, thanks so much, Sandy. I want to tell everybody else that Sandy and I chatted after she submitted this awesome tip because I couldn't find workouts below this week where she said it would be. For some reason, mine were above this week. Workouts are hard to notice because they're an orange button that looks like all the other buttons. I'm pretty sure you're more clever than me, so you'll be able to find them, though. I asked her also what the benefit of adding workouts in this manner was, and she explained that this will give you credit in the Apple Activity app for time exercised and even calories if you have a good way to estimate what you burned. So definitely a cool nano or tiny tip. Okay, Steve, you didn't go on mute that time. But
I did it late. Chapter marker.
Chapter marker. Thank you. This actually, you could actually add some value this time.
Oh, actually.
Okay. So
welcome, Terry. Terry joined us a bit late. Drinks next week.
Terry, good timing because it's time for Terry's Duolingo post.
Oh, that's good timing.
Yeah. I think Terry jumps right in, so I don't know if I was going to. Let me listen to his. Where's Duo? There he is. So he's here. Let me hear what he says. See whether I need to introduce him. Tiny tip.
I am Terry Vogelaar from Holland, and I would like to read.
Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of a quick intro here. You know, it's funny. We tend to get people from certain countries all one after another. And for some reason, the Netherlands is coming up in more and more conversations. We had Joop Brudink just last week on the show. And this week we have Terry Vogelaar to bring us a little review. And here we go. Now we can do that. Terry Vogelaar to bring us a little review.
I am Terry Vogelaar from Holland, and I would like to review Duolingo. The problem to be solved is that as the world turns into a global village, being able to speak more than one language becomes increasingly important, especially for people in the less wealthy countries. But traditional language education is expensive, so there is the desire to learn, but not the budget. That is where Duolingo comes in. I wanted to learn Esperanto. Why Esperanto, you might ask? Because I'm a geek, and this is a constructed language. It's almost as straightforward as a programming language. It has no exceptions, and the grammar is very visible. And it is a neutral middle ground. Whenever I speak English, I am well aware of my Dutch accent. I took a big step to learn English with all of its quirks. But I still feel inferior to native speakers because I came to their territory. But with Esperanto, everyone took the same small step towards each other. Okay, enough about Esperanto. This is a review of Duolingo. There are plenty of courses available. You can even learn High Valyrian or Klingon, speaking of geekiness. Each lesson begins with its short introduction, but most of the learning is in the practicing. And they really did their best on the gamification of it all. You can earn points, level up, and unlock features with your accomplishments. Great! Are there any downsides to it? Of course there are. Duolingo is notorious for the silliness of some of the sentences. Like this one, La mal bella bebo danzas rapide, meaning the ugly baby dances fast. Or this one, Ĉu estas spaco en via dormosako, meaning, is there room in your sleeping bag? How desperate can you be? It is easy to start a course on the site and continue with it on your iPhone or vice versa. But there are some differences. Some choices are obviously just user experience optimizations, but other differences baffle me, like the reward system. On the site you can earn lingots, while on mobile they are called gems. Practicing involves doing tasks like translating a sentence, and the site determines whether it is correct. But it doesn't have to match the expected sentence exactly. Even typos are recognized as a right answer with a typo instead of just a wrong answer. This is very good, but not perfect. Since there is a lot of typing involved, I don't pay too much attention to getting my English right. And that bites me in the butt occasionally. Take this for example. Esperanto has no indefinite article. So when translate from Esperanto to English, you need to add that. You cannot say, I am volunteer. It has to be, I am a volunteer. Although there is no word for a in Esperanto. But in my native tongue, I can say it either way. This trips me up every time. But all in all, I am very happy with Duolingo. It looks great, the audio sounds great, and the lessons are great. And it is free. There are some ads. These are harder to ignore on the app version than they are on the website. If you pay $10 a month, you can get rid of the ads and help to keep it free for those who can't afford to pay for a language education. I can highly recommend Duolingo for learning Esperanto or any other language you want to master.
That was awesome.
Learning Esperanto or any other language you want to master.
Terry, that was fantastic. First of all, I'm really impressed by people who can speak two languages, and clearly you're bilingual at the very least. But oh my gosh, the ugly baby dances fast. That is fantastic. I'm pretty sure that's the first time that sentence has ever been spoken on the NosillaCast. But I did give it a try. I went out there and I started looking at Esperanto. And I have to tell you, I didn't even know about this language. Everybody I mentioned it to went, oh yeah, everybody knows about that. So I guess I'm just late to the party. I don't promise I'm going to be able to learn it, but I thought it was fun to go poke around and take a look at it and see if I could get funny sentences out of it too. But thank you so much Terry for sending that in.
Chapter marker.
Thank you. I heard your this isn't going to work, which makes me sad because this turns out this is not that hard. I think the chapter markers are going to get stripped out by a phonic leveler.
I thought that was an audio only. Oh, it acts on the metadata as well, huh?
But
I thought leveler only acts on the audio. Does it actually work on the metadata?
I don't understand how that. I don't know how to answer you. I'm sorry.
That's right.
What it says in the help file is that it doesn't manage bookmarks. I don't know whether it will strip it out or not, but okay. Listen here. Much for Terry for sending that in. That's going to be funny. Okay. Please mute.
Now?
Yeah, I'm on Safari's reader view. These are all out of order too. Oh no, maybe that one is supposed to be next. Okay. What? Another tiny tip? Yes. This one's for me. The tip I'm going to give you today transformed my enjoyment of the internet, both on iPhone and on Mac. Oddly, I think it's been around for a very long time, but it must have been enhanced in recent versions of Safari because I'm using it all the time now. If you've already been using this tip, go ahead and say, I knew that. But if you haven't used it, you're going to love this tip. Let's start with the problem to be solved, shall we? Let's say you're on your iPhone and you come to a lovely website such as Bart's site, bartb.ie. Let's say you're working on your programming by stealth homework. It turns out Bart's theme was developed a very long time ago, before responsive design for mobile devices was even expected. It wasn't even a twinkle in anybody's eye. So his theme has rigid sizes for the width of the center, left, and right columns. And before I embarrass him any further, he is designing a new theme, doing it from scratch with his bare hands. So, it will be better soon, but for right now, it makes a perfect example. But you also may run across another site with equally valuable content that has a real big problem to see on your mobile screen. Anyway, because of the rigid widths on Bart's theme, the content area is wee tiny on an iPhone screen. It's really, really narrow. I got pictures in the show notes if you don't believe me. Anyway, if you're using Safari on the iPhone and you navigate to bartb.ie and choose a specific post, to the left of the URL, you will see an icon that is 3 lines with a shorter line below it. You may briefly see something that says Reader View Available. That icon I just described is that Reader View icon. So if you tap on the Reader View icon, instantly the web page will be transformed to show only the main content of the web page, and the text will be quite large and quite readable. It's absolutely amazing. Now, I want to emphasize that Reader View doesn't show at the main URL. So when you go to bartb.ie or podfeet.com, you will not see the Reader View. You have to be in a post in order to see the Reader View icon in the URL bar. It gets better though. Once you're in Reader View, to the right of the URL, you'll see a small A and a larger A. If you tap on that icon, you can now change the way Reader View looks on your iPhone. You can choose to shrink or embiggen the text using the small and large A's. You can also see Bart's site in normal view. The way I have this set up, it's harder to read now. I just read one of the titles, not the way I'd intended. There we go. You can also see Bart's, read it again. My brain cannot skip over that title. There's a figure title. You can also change the background color of the page from white to beige to a dark gray or even to black. The text color changes along with these options, from black text on white to lighter grays as you move towards black. You can also choose between 8 different serif, sans serif, and monospace fonts. This is a boon for those with vision impairments, where maybe a bright white screen can actually be painful to the eyes. I should mention that these changes you make to Reader View are persistent across all sites, so you only have to set these preferences once to make all sites look the way you want them to. Now, Bart's site is 100% content. What about those annoying sites, though, that are covered with ads or all kinds of distractions on the sides? Reader View on the Mac and Safari is perfect for those too. As soon as a single thing starts to distract me on a website, I hit that Reader View icon as a punishment. As an example, I went to cnet.com and clicked on an article about the new update coming to Firefox. There was a giant banner ad for T-Mobile, a pretty tall menu bar to navigate to other stories I wasn't reading on CNET, a giant title for the article, and then a 2-sentence synopsis of the article. Next, it had who wrote it and a bunch of social media buttons, ensuring that I would be tracked on Facebook and Twitter. After that, believe it or not, yet another banner ad for T-Mobile. At that point, a video ad for a refrigerator came up on top of the right side of the screen, and it was partially covering a piece of art that appeared to be unrelated to the Firefox story at all. So on a 27-inch monitor with a window at, say, 80% the height of my screen, I could not see a single word of the article I had requested. I clicked on the Reader View button, and while I got the title and synopsis and author, immediately following that was the actual content of the article. I got to tell you, Reader View brings a tear to my eye. I started poking around trying to figure out where Reader View works and where it doesn't. When it does work, you may see something that says Reader View available, like I said. I thought a good test would be on the podfeet.com homepage, since I know how that one works. I went to the homepage and there was no Reader View icon. I clicked on blog posts, which is actually a link to the WordPress category that I have named blog posts. So that's kind of like an artificial page. Still, there was no Reader View there. But when I went to an actual post, I was rewarded with Reader View. Now, I went to a lot of work to declutter podfeet.com and make it shrink and embiggen just to fit your screen. So it doesn't make a huge difference to go into reader view, but it does let you choose your color and font size, which could be a great big help to you. Now, I thought I'd be able to find an Apple support article describing reader view to learn a bit more about it, but I couldn't find one. I did find the documentation on how to implement it, though, over at developer.apple.com, and there's a full link in the show notes. I'll skip the technical details, but I actually understood a bunch of what was written in there because of Programming by Stealth. The opening paragraph explanation did describe Reader View pretty well. Reader is a Safari feature that allows users to read online articles in a continuous, clutter-free view with no ads or visual distractions. Reader concatenates multi-page articles into a single scrolling pane. There are events that fire when Reader is available, activated, or deactivated. In your extension, you can enter and exit Reader programmatically, inspect properties on the Reader object, and inject scripts and style sheets. Now, I was glad I read that because I didn't realize Reader View would also get rid of those annoying websites that make you click next to get rid of to get to all the content. You know, they only do that to get clicks, right? That's the whole reason. So it's just yet another great thing about Reader View. Now that I have Reader View in Safari on my Mac and on my iOS devices, I'm invoking it pretty much everywhere I go. It's easier than using ad blockers. It's customizable to me, and I can actually read the content people have spent so much time writing. Like I said, I think it's been there for a really long time, but when I searched, most of the articles I found are pretty new. So maybe they enhanced it. I'm not really sure, but I love it.
Chapter marker.
Thank you. Good job, Steve. What is my next chapter?
Your next chapter is Starbucks tiny tip.
No, right? We have to have an ad first.
Oh, that gets its own chapter. You might not want to do that.
Well, I think I will because I'm going to put something useful in there. And this is going to be, I'm going to talk about, I built a page.
You built a page for ads?
No, you will hear. It's in the, you can read it. You got it right there. All right, here we go. Come on, baby. Where are you going? Come on. It's weird. There you go. All right, save. Well, not an ad. Amazon. I recently created a new page on podfeet.com that I've never told you about. It's a page showing all of the past podcasting gear I use to create the show. I think it's kind of cool. I have my microphone, my boom arm, my headphones, my pop filter, my webcam, my Thunderbolt dock, my audio interface, and even the USB hub I need in order to plug all this stuff in. I'm hoping to do a section on all the apps I use eventually too. Of course, there are links to Amazon, my Amazon affiliate links for every one of these products. By buying through the links, I may receive a commission for the sale, and of course, this has no effect on the price for you. I haven't figured out a clean way to link to these unique types of pages, though, from the homepage. So you're going to have to either click on the link in the show notes to get to it, or remember to search for My Podcasting Gear over on podfeet.com. If any of you have ideas on how I can reveal these types of links without cluttering up this clean homepage I was just bragging about, I am all ears. See? Oh, so I'm going to tell you guys something that I haven't talked about on the show because I can't, and Klaus will be really interested in this.
Amazon. Talk.
What?
Do talk.
I was talking and you interrupted me. Klaus especially will be interested in this. Amazon Germany wrote to me and said, hey, we're not real happy with that Amazon affiliate link Fun with Flags page you've got. And they suggested, I don't even think I told Steve about this, they suggested new language for me. And I saluted and said, I will do exactly whatever you say. They gave me 5 days to comply. So the words I just said were exactly word for word what they told me I'm allowed to say. I'm allowed to say, the links used are Amazon affiliate links. By buying through the links, I may receive a commission for the sale, and this has no effect on the price for you. That is all. I'm not allowed to say support the show.
So, who is this from? Who is telling you this?
Amazon, Germany.
Oh, so the rules are a bit different in Germany.
No, I think the rules have always been this.
Oh,
I've just been skating on thin ice. I've heard of people losing their Amazon affiliate links, but they gave me 5 days to comply, and I complied in like 3 hours and sent it to them and said, did the fix. And they said, thank you very much for your prompt attention. You're good to go. So I'm going to save that in case I ever get in trouble by the US. So support the show, maybe, but they'd have to do a lot of work to find that, I think. I don't know. We are very exacting people. Oh, are you German, Kevin? Yeah, Klaus is saying the rules are like that.
Oh, Klaus said John Gruber lost his Amazon affiliate link that way.
Oh.
Or income.
Okay, it's time for a tiny tip.
Do you need another chapter, Mark?
I do. What's the next show? It's going to be, this is Steve's. I don't know why you didn't record this for me, and you're going to make me do the recording.
Looking back, I probably should have, but just when you hear Allison, just think of my voice.
Kevin's going to be sad. Makes me sad that I don't think this is going to work, because this isn't actually that hard. So we've got to do the tiny tip. Music again. Okay. All ears. Okay, here. All right. Oh, I gotta get the tiny tip Starbucks, right? Oh, there was a big typo. I don't remember what it was. I have a big typo in that Amazon section. Remind me to look for it later, Steve. Okay, here we go. Well, this is getting a little repetitive, but this is the Tiny Tip Show, I think. One of the cool things about Face ID on iPhone X is that you don't have to enable it for sites and apps that already use Touch ID. Wait a minute. Oh, I did. Shoot. Actually, I'll do that again. I was going to say, it sounded like, actually, I used the nano tip joke twice. I didn't remember that. One more time. Well, this is the tiny tip episode, that's for sure. They keep coming. And this one is a little bit of a nano tip, but if you've got the problem this solves, this might be a mega tip for you. One of the cool things about Face ID on iPhone X is that you don't have to enable it for sites and apps that already used Touch ID in the past. The API, otherwise known as Application Program Interface, just sees a biometric authenticator, and it doesn't care if it's your fingerprint or your face unlocking the phone. However, Steve found that after bringing up the Starbucks app on his iPhone X, he could not open the app due to authentication issues with Face ID. When the Starbucks app requested his credentials, Face ID was activated as expected. The app would appear to accept Face ID for authentication, but then the app would freeze. At first, Steve thought that the Starbucks app was not compatible with Face ID. It's been really awesome how if you're in line and you realize your balance is low, you could so quickly reload your card. There was no way Steve was going to go back to typing in his password every time he needed to reload his code, so he was pretty concerned about this. I checked my iPhone X, and I got the same behavior. Not being able to get into our Starbucks fix was going to be pretty much DEFCON 1 around the Sheridan household. Or is that DEFCON 5? Whichever the bad one is. Anyway, Steve sent out a request on Twitter to see if anyone else had the same problem. Matt S. Suda responded with a workaround solution that actually worked. His solution was to tap Sign In on the app and quickly move the iPhone to face away from you so that Face ID fails. He said that when the Face ID animation comes up, you should tap and then it will go away. With Face ID temporarily stopped from coming up, he explained that you can safely look at the phone and type in your login credentials this once. This approach might also be a good workaround for other apps having authentication issues with Face ID. So once you've authenticated by typing in your username and password, like an animal from 2012, you'll be able to go back to using Face ID. Tap on reload, and of course, you're using Apple Pay. You see the happy little Face ID icon spin in front of you to authorize the payment. We can hope that Starbucks will fix their app soon, but since it was over a year that they had a bug that kept my balance showing as $16.45, no matter what my balance was, I would not hold my breath on Starbucks jumping on this quickly. In any case, we are now able to reload our cars and get our caffeine fix with ease and enjoy our Starbucks coffee again. Thanks to Matt. Whew,
Well
there's
done.
a dog in here.
Oh,
But she
does
has
she
a
have her collar on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
She's
a
making
problem.
me pet her.
Collar off.
Okay.
And chapter time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, Sandy, I've been getting emails from a few people said that they didn't go for the 10. The 10 is pretty cool. Not gonna lie. But just look at your pocketbook and how much money you have left that we don't have. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, there it is. Preview. Okay. Just ask again. Okay, so this is going to be the one about why we're doing chapter markers. This is a fun one. Okay. I'm getting too many windows open. I need that one open. I don't need that one open.
How's your timing looking?
That one. I'm at 20 minutes, so I think we will have time for everything.
Okay.
What I just say was, oh, what?
God is acting up in the chat room a little bit.
Oh, I'm shocked. That I didn't see coming. Okay, there it is. Okay. Which Nick was it that George, you should remember this one. You and Nick both asked for a different live icon. Facebook Live. Do you remember, George? I'm going to wait for his answer because it would be better than what I've written here. It was Nick somebody. I feel like playing the tiny tip thing just for fun again. I don't think I have another tiny tip, do I? Would have been Nick Garcia, maybe? I hate the lag. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Link for live show. Yes.
But you mean on your homepage?
Someone named Nick. Which Nick was it? I used a C in the note I wrote myself. So it's not Nick.
Unless you just added the C accidentally.
Yeah. Can you find the typo in my Amazon wording? There's something, and then tell me what it is. Don't change it.
Okay.
Okay, George isn't going to be any help at all. I think it was Nick Garcia. Because Nick Garcia would be the other Nick that's normally in the chat room, right, Steve?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Nick Garcia is the other Nick that's usually in the chat room. It's Nick Garcia and Nick Lau.
Right.
All right, I'll say Nick Garcia. Hopefully the right Nick. It is the right Nick. Okay. Here we go. A little over a year ago, I told you that if you want something to be different about podfeet.com or even the podcast, you should just go ahead and ask. I think this bears repeating maybe once a year. It's come up a bunch just lately because a few people have made requests, and I thought if I told you about their suggestions, it might give you the courage to ask for things. I want to emphasize that I will absolutely entertain all suggestions, but I definitely will not implement every request. Some I just don't want to do. Some are too hard to do. But you know what? Why not ask? The worst thing I could do is say no, right? Well, let's go through some of these. Lewis Butler wrote me a very polite note asking whether it would be possible to make the text titles under the podcast logos on podfeet.com's homepage into links to the podcast posts. He noted that while it's nice that the podcast logos themselves are links, some people are more text-philic and would benefit from the titles being links as well. I had to go look up text-philic, and I couldn't find it. Apparently, it's not a real word. While Lewis did make up the word text-philic, I figured out what he meant. According to my online sources, in medical jargon, adding -philic to the end of a word is, and I'm quoting, a combining form occurring in adjectives that characterize classes of organisms having an affinity for or thriving in a given substance or environment. In other words, Lewis likes text. Anyway, it took a bit of jiggery pokery with the layout builder text widget I use from Site Origin, my theme maker. But if I girded it out, I figured it out. Hang on. I figured it out. Send that to blog, because if I leave that up there, that'll be embarrassing. Steve did not get a chance to test this, so proofread it. But I would like to know why Grammarly didn't find girded. Okay, let's see. In other words, okay. Let's see. Split. And I'll get rid of that. Okay. Was weekend. Podfeet was word. Weekend around September 3rd.
Surrounded.
What is he talking about? What is George talking about? Podfeet was weekend around September 3rd.
He's asking about the time when you referred to Nick.
I don't know. I wrote it in a note to myself. Yes, you heard Bart's embiggened term. Okay, here we go. In other words, Nick likes text. Anyway, it took a bit of jiggery pokery with the layout builder text widget I use from Site Origin. That's my theme maker, but I figured it out. It turns out their text widget doesn't allow the title of this little block to be a link. But I found a workaround in the forums where they suggested using a heading tag and making that a link and putting it all into the body of the text widget. That way it'll look like a title, but it's not actually in the title field. Now, Site Origin does have a generic HTML widget, but oddly, that widget also precludes making the title into a link. Anyway, you'll notice now that all of the titles under the podcast logos are now also links to the episode, just the way Lewis wanted it. See? All he did was ask politely, and his wish was granted. All right, a couple months back, Kevin M. asked for something, and I couldn't see at first how to easily do what he wanted, so I pushed back quite a bit. He said that he likes to sort his podcast episodes by how long they are as a way of choosing which podcast he'll listen to next. Kind of an interesting idea. He noted that while other shows like Bart's Let's Talk Apple and Let's Talk Photography podcasts do give him the length, mine do not. I wasn't so easy on Kevin, I should say, because in 12 years of podcasting, no one else had ever asked for the time length to be embedded in the feed. And it seemed like it would be really tedious to do. I create the podcast feed, which is actually a very simple text file, using a tool called Feeder from Reinvented Software. I thought perhaps the developer, Steve Harris, had a way within Feeder where maybe this could be automatically inserted, and that way Kevin M. could be happy and I wouldn't have to do any extra work. You see, Feeder figures out the bit length of my audio files. It seemed like it should be able to figure out the time length as well. Well, Steve Harris got back to me and explained that if I didn't insist on using a third-party client to securely FTP my files up to a server and instead allowed Feeder to do that, it would autofill the timestamp into the feed. That sounded like fun. I invented my current process so long ago that I don't always take advantage of these newfangled features that Steve keeps putting into Feeder. I thought this was a swell time to do an experiment and see if I could trust Feeder with this critical task. However, testing this new process was unfortunately problematic. The audio files you receive are stored on a service called Libsyn, and they have a very weird way of dealing with the files. You first upload your audio file or your video file, if you're a podcaster, using SFTP to a very normal-looking directory. I send them to ftp-server.libsyn.com, and the remote path is /NosillaCast/public. That's all well and good. Feeder can easily do that. The problem is that Libsyn, within a very few seconds, has their server grab that file and whisk it away to a completely different location. Drives me nuts. The download directory you get is completely different from the upload directory that I use. Downloads come from traffic.libsyn.com/NosillaCast. So even if I did use Feeder to successfully SFTP the file up, the location would be wrong in the feed, so I'd have to change it. This completely erases the value of using Feeder to determine the time length. I talked to Bart about how he does it, and guess what he does? He types the time in by hand. Now, I really wanted an automated way to do this, but I couldn't see how to accomplish it. When I paste the URL from Libsyn into Feeder for the audio file, I then hit a button that queries the file for the bit length from the server. Now, when I do that, I always compare that bit length it finds to the bit length of the same file looking at it in the Finder. I do this as a check on myself to make sure that I have given you the right file name in Feeder. It's kind of a little check and balance. It occurred to me that when I'm looking at the file in the Finder to verify the bit length, the podcast duration is right there in that same Finder window. So how hard is it for me to just type that number into Feeder? It's not that hard. So you might have noticed for the past few weeks, I've been trying really hard to remember to type in the time just for Kevin M. And of course, I was snarky about saying I did it just for him. But you know what? He was very persistent and he wanted it. Now, I want to add one more thing. I did not jump at the opportunity to help Kevin on this. There was a lot of whining on my end and me telling him all of the reasons why it either couldn't be done or it was too hard. But he wore me down. I sure hope somebody else gets a benefit out of this too. Well, in the same vein as Lewis's request for text to be links, George from Tulsa and Nick, and I think it was Nick Garcia, I'm not positive though. Anyway, George and Nick both want me to do something to make the live logo different in some way to catch their attention better. They look at that row of icons that you get to if you click on Join the Conversation on the homepage. They look at that row of icons and they just don't see the live show images being anything different than the regular NosillaCast logo. Now, it does say live in pretty big letters, but you know what? I can't tell someone that they should be able to see something if they can't, because how many times have you looked for something and not been able to see it? It's a valid question. Anyway, I haven't done anything about this one yet. I'm kind of paralyzed because I like the logo the way it looks now, and I can't think of a way to keep it in the style of the regular NosillaCast logo and yet stand out better. Possibly in a passive-aggressive way, maybe I'll just make the font on the word live just a little bit thicker and declare success. But you know what? They both asked so nicely. Maybe I could put text below the logo that says live in it and make it a link like I did for Lewis on the logos up above. That way they could search for the word live. There's an exclamation point, by the way. That's why I keep saying it that way. Anyway, they could search for the word live on the page and then they could find it. Or I could be stubborn and tell them to just memorize podfeet.com/live. I mean, I do say it every single week at the end of the show, right? But they did ask so nicely. Anyway, what do you think I should do? Maybe you guys can think of a way to make the logo look the way they can see it, and I still get to keep the logo looking something like the original logo. All right. I decided to tell you all of the ideas people have sent me in descending order of how open I was to their suggestions. This week, Joe LaGreca, who I told he should be in the live chat room tonight, but he's not there, so he could hear me give him a hard time. Anyway, Joe LaGreca posted a screenshot in our Facebook group at podfeet.com/Facebook of the Mac Power Users podcast showing an index of timestamps for each subject in the episode. He talked about how wonderful it is. He made it a feature request for my wonderful podcast. He even capitalized wonderful as a way of sucking up to me. And while I do enjoy a suck up as much as the next guy, Joe and I are close enough friends that I went for the snarky answer first. I wrote, I could totally do that. It would take an extra hour or so of my time to help people skip content I've created. Oh, wait. Okay, that's what I wrote originally. But then that darn Dave Hamilton from the Mac Geek app jumped into the conversation, explained that he does it so people can go back to reference things that they've heard. And Joe agreed with Dave. He said that's exactly why he wants it, to go find the content that he wanted to hear, that he wanted to go back and refer to. Now, I would like to point out, Dave Hamilton owns a company with staff, paid staff. He does do this himself, though, so maybe that's not a valid excuse. Well, the last time I had checked, MP3s could not contain chapter markers, which would mean I'd have to create M4A files for the chapters to exist. And that meant maintaining 2 separate feeds and uploading 2 audio files, doubling the cost of storage on Libsyn, and that is not going to happen. That's why I said no the last 26 times people have asked for this. Fortunately, though, while I was writing this up, I thought to ping Dave Hamilton about it and asked him about whether MP3s can have chapter markers. And sadly for me, he explained that MP3s can contain chapter markers. My test said that they didn't work, but he explained that pretty much all non-Apple podcatchers can read those chapters. I thought, okay, maybe I can use the excuse, though, that I want people using iTunes or the Apple Podcast app to be able to listen along too. But sadly, Dave explained the Apple apps, the podcast app and iTunes, just ignore the chapters and they work just like non-chapter marked MP3s. Dagnabbit. I'm running out of excuses. Well, then I thought, okay, it's still too hard. But I checked out my recording software, which is called Hindenburg Journalist, and I realized that it has a really easy keystroke to add chapter markers. All I have to do is hit Command Shift Enter and type in the name when I come to a chapter. So this is getting really annoying. It's getting easier and easier. If you've ever been to the live show, you know that I stop and start at each new blog post, so I could easily drop in the chapter markers if I remember when I stopped for each post. I'm completely out of excuses. So right now, while I'm recording this, I am creating the chapters in the show. And Steve and the others are all reminding me and yelling chapter marker whenever I get to a blog post when I'm going to start a new one. So I have been putting them in. But I'm pretty sure it might not work. So the problem is I don't know for certain whether my audio loudness and leveling application, Auphonic Leveler, will preserve the chapters when it converts my file from AIFF to MP3 for you. According to the documentation, the desktop version of Auphonic Leveler, which I paid for dearly, no, I didn't pay for it dearly, I paid dearly for it. According to their documentation, it says it doesn't support chapter management. Now, I'm not sure if that means they'll be destroyed or whether it just means I can't create them in it. Now, Auphonic Leveler does have a paid-for web service I could be using instead of the desktop app, but that would be above and beyond what I'm willing to fund. Now, if it turns out this doesn't work, we might be able to do a Patreon funding goal for that if it comes to you guys really wanting it. So I can't really test it. I couldn't really test this without having a podcatcher to catch the file. So I'm doing those chapters right now, and I guess we will all find out at the same time when we download the feed when I'm done recording this episode. Anyway, bottom line here, like I said in my previous post and the introduction to you, if you want something, just ask. I'm either going to say yes, or I'll say no, and I'll tell you why it's too hard, and then I'll still let you argue with me, and you might be able to talk me into it. I have to say, I've had a lot of fun trying to find reasons not to do what you ask me when I think it's too hard, and I've learned a lot along the way. So I love it when you ask me for enhancements to the show and the website. Done. Why isn't Steve talking to me? Are you guys dancing?
Time to stand.
Is it time to stand? Oh, man.
And you got to move the arms.
Oh, Kevin said chapter markers. What, are we dancing?
You don't have to move the hips.
Headless dancing? We're getting our move goal? Oh, actually.
Kevin's got the chapter bug. Good.
All right.
I'm gonna pass it back to Kevin.
All right. Save chapter. All right. Well, I got to keep moving. So where are we in the show? Was that the last, was that it?
Well, you still have the dumb question corner.
Jeez.
Do you have time for that?
Yeah, unfortunately I do.
That's recorded though, or it's not.
No.
You got to read. Oh, how long is that one?
You guys just stand after class because I did the chapter markers. Okay, it's the HEIF. It's not that long.
It's just 6 pages.
See, it shows only 32 minutes. I get yelled at if it's under 40.
All right.
Did I get my credit yet? No, I haven't gotten credit yet. Hang on. Where is it? There it is. Preview. All right. Well, I better hope I got credit. Dancing in the bars. Tesla's taking a bath. What is going on?
Well, she's doing a little licking.
Is she? Ew, I hate that. Wait a minute. Why is he yelling at me? I've got 11 of 12 and it's not 6 o'clock yet. Oh, I got to find the dumb question. Oh, wait. Chapter marker. I didn't do the chapter marker.
Kevin reminded you this time.
I know, but I didn't do it because I was standing.
We have to go back and re-remind you with all the previous.
Yep.
How many stands?
Licking, keeps on licking. I spend $80 a month trying to get her to not lick. I hate it when she licks. Okay. Mute, dear.
Muting.
Wait, why is Kevin saying pod feet? He's just calling out my name just to get my attention. So this is interesting. I want to ask Marianne, remind me to ask her afterwards about why I see her coming in and out the way I see other people who use the web chat. And I'm wondering whether she sees an interruption or whether it just, it is actually crashing her out and back in.
You're talking about the interface to the chat?
Yeah, because it says
it's every time she goes into some other app, it's taking her out,
kicks her out
of the chat.
Oh, maybe if you use slide over, it wouldn't do that.
Can you slide over?
Slide over?
You know, pull an app up from the bottom.
No, I can't.
No.
Okay, we should take a look at that. That might be a solution.
By the way, I found your typo in that other post. Do you want me to tell you now or later?
Tell me now.
Okay, that was.
Oh, it was in the Amazon
Patreon
thing, right?
and Amazon. It's the first sentence, and it says, or second sentence. It says it's a page showing all of the podcasting great I use.
Thank you. Dumb question corner music. Wow, we've had a lot of jingles. We're jingle heavy tonight.
Sounds like a Saint Nick episode.
The website. Okay.
Dumb
Dumb
questions.
questions. Dumb questions.
How
come I always have to?
It's time for Dumb Question Corner.
Man, I'm getting to play all my jingles tonight. Anyway, listener and good friend Raleigh brings us our dumb question this week. When Mac OS Sierra... I didn't say, here's what he wrote. Yeah, that's okay. Man, I'm getting to use all of my jingles tonight. Well, anyway, listener and good friend Raleigh brings us our dumb question this week. Here's what he wrote. When macOS High Sierra is installed, the photo and video formats are changed to HEIF and HEVF respectively. I presume that means that the Photos library on the Mac is updated to this new format for all the pictures in the local library. Is the iCloud Photos library also updated? If not, what happens when new HEIF photos are uploaded to the library? I also have about 50 photo libraries from our travels on my NAS device. That is, they're not in the system photo library. How would they be managed under High Sierra when I use them in my videos? All right, Raleigh, let's get the terminology explained first and then back into your question for everybody else. HEIF is pronounced HEIF, rhymes with beef. Anyway, HEIF is a file format for a single image or a sequence of images. It's a new standard developed by the Moving Pictures Export Group, the people who are called MPEG. Some may think this is an Apple invention, so I kind of wanted to clear that up front, that it is not an Apple invention, it is a standard format. The HEIF specification includes the HEIF file format for individual images and image sequences. To make things a wee bit more confusing, a HEIF image can have a file extension of .heif or .heic. Apple has chosen to use .heic, but it's the exact same animal. So when you see HEIC, think HEIF. As I said, HEIF defines sequences of images, so this means our live photos can now be in HEIF. The HEIF spec also defines the video format, which, as Raleigh said, is HEVC. That stands for High Efficiency High Efficiency Video Codec. The advantage of HEIF and HEVC files is that they have a more efficient compression algorithm, meaning an image taking up the same storage space would look significantly better than a JPEG, or it can be smaller in space and look better. It's a huge win. There's one big clarification required here of what Apple actually did. They did not convert any of your existing photos or videos into the new formats. The change was in new photos taken by your iOS devices when you went to iOS 11. All iOS photos taken after September 19th, 2017, if you upgraded to iOS 11 on day one, will say .heic in the Get Info window. And those taken before that will say JPEG. Same goes for video. It'll be .hevc after the 19th and H.264 before that. All right. When I wrote this up, Paul N. wrote something in the comments that I'm going to insert right here. He gave us some additional insight into the options available to you before you switch over to High Sierra. He pointed out that on your iOS device, iPhone or iPad, in Settings, Photos, there's a section called Transfer to Mac or PC. There are two options, Automatic or Keep Originals. Below that is an explanation that says, automatically transfer photos and videos in a compatible format, or always transfer the original file without checking for compatibility. Paul verified that if your Mac is still on Sierra and you set it to automatic on iOS, the images will be transferred over as JPEG. If you're on High Sierra on the Mac side, that same setting of automatic will transfer the HEIF images. If you choose Keep Originals, iOS 11 will always transfer HEIF, whether or not your Mac is ready and be able to edit them. That is one of the problems. If you're on High Sierra or you're on regular Sierra and you get HEIF images, you cannot edit them until you go to High Sierra. So Paul's insight doesn't tell you which you should pick, but it does a great job of explaining the options. If you want to stay on Sierra for a long time, you probably would want to be able to edit your images in Apple Photos, in which case you would choose automatic, so there'll be JPEGs like before. However, if you want to keep in mind that those images will never... Bunch of typos and they're distracting me. Okay. Okay, I gotta get same serial will transfer the heat. If you choose to keep originals, load that. There's an explanation that says automatically transfer photos and video. Always transfer. Paul verified that if your Mac is still on Sierra, you choose automatic on iOS, the images will be transferred to and High Sierra on the Mac side. That same side of transfer. Where's that typo that bugged me? Paul's insight. There's the big one. Paul's insight. SIGHT. Hey, Steve's not listening. He's talking to Marianne.
Oh, you guys. No, I was talking to God. It was. So what?
Marianne, insight, is that SIGHT or SITE?
It's IN. SIGHT.
I asked whether it was SIGHT or SITE, not whether it was IN.
SIGHT. I shouldn't be answering for God. I'm sorry.
What is the
insight? Is it? How do you spell insight?
INSIGHT.
INSIGHT or ITE?
GHT.
Insight.
Yeah.
In then sight.
I know. Okay, site as in website is SITE. That's
but she used a hand gesture
eyes.
Meant eyesight.
Yes. Super
there
helpful.
You go. There you go. Klaus has it.
Okay, thank you, Klaus. Okay. All right, where was I?
Terry says it's
in which
inside.
Case you use automatic, so there'll be JPEGs like before. Yeah. Remind me when I get done to push this back up because I changed it to, it did say inside. That's why I was changing it. Typo was driving me crazy. Okay. Back recording. However, you want to keep in mind those images will never be able to regain that depth information they once had and the better live photos options of HEIF and the better file compression. If you care about these things and you'll be moving over to High Sierra sooner rather than later, then you probably want to set the switch to Keep Originals so this better format is preserved for all photos taken going forward. By the way, this applies to PCs as well as Macs, and I'd really be curious what options are available for PC people with HEIF images and HEVC videos. In any case, thanks so much to Paul N. for explaining this switch and the options it gives us. So all of this was a long-winded way of saying that your existing photos will not be affected. So there's no change to the photos on Raleigh's network-attached storage, and in fact, no photos are changed at all. Only new photos are in the new, more efficient, and better-looking format. One more thing. Until you upgrade your Mac to High Sierra, photos taken by devices running iOS 11 are kind of trapped in an odd state. You can view them, but as I said earlier, remember, you cannot edit them on the Mac. I ran into that problem when I wasn't quite sure High Sierra was ready for my production machine, and yet my iPhone and iPads were already on iOS 11. It's pretty much safe to jump in the water now, though. High Sierra was one of the smoothest upgrades I've done in a very long time. Okay. I need to, let's see, I say that. Send a blog. Okay. Sandy leaving us?
No.
Who's leaving?
God is.
God is leaving? God got bored? God's in our house. All right. Do I need to put a chapter marker for the ending? Everybody knows when to leave and quit listening, right?
I think you should for completeness.
Thanks. These aren't going to be preserved anyway. Ending, closure, what do I call that? Fini? Call it fini.
Conclusion.
Fini is more fun. Okay, here we go. Well, that was a lot of little tiny pieces of information, but I had fun telling you about all of them. And thanks to Sandy and Terry and Steve and Raleigh for his dumb question. We had a lot of fun here. But that is going to wind us up for this week. And George, I want you to listen, because in here, you're going to find out how to get to the live show more easily. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, like Raleigh did, your comments and suggestions, like things you want me to do for you, by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. You can follow me on Twitter @podfeet. And remember, everything starts good with podfeet.com. Everything good starts with podfeet.com, I should say. If you want to become a Patreon, podfeet.com/Patreon. If you want to join our Facebook group, podfeet.com/Facebook. If you want to join our Google Plus community, podfeet.com/Google Plus. You learned how fun both of those were just now earlier in the episode. And if you want to help us out with Amazon affiliate links, go to podfeet.com/Amazon. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, George and Nick, head on over to, here we go, podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Was that snarky enough?
We're out. Yes.
I had fun with that. I hope George enjoyed it. Cheers and happy feet. That's what Ian always says. Ian, is that singular to, I've always assumed it had to do with pod feet, or is that just what you always say? Mic drop. Hey, we had some fun today. We found out that our TV and receiver collectively dropped how much, Steve? $700?
$500.
$500.
So we got a price match refund.
But price match, so Best Buy was where we bought it, and they matched their own price, and so we got our receiver, and we saved a bunch of money, our TV and our receiver, so that was fun. All right, let me listen to this. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. That's in the wrong place. Oh, Ian says he said that for a long time.
Yeah, it just kind of fits very well with the Podfeet podcasts.
And I thought it was all about us.
You can just go on thinking that.
Way to go. Stop asking for Patreon donations. Why?
Because you got $500.
Oh, because I got $500 back price match. Okay, that's funny. All right. I think this should be done. Why is this not? That refund was enough to fund it for a year. Oh, really? How much do you think it costs to run this show? A little more than $500 to keep this afloat. All right. So we got chapter markers. Wait, where's Sandy's? Oh, that's right. I put this thing before I started yapping. Okay. So we have, all right, we're going to find out file export. I know they're still in the AIFF. I was able to prove that.
I'm going to sign out a little early.
Sign out early?
Yeah.
Because why? You going to make me dinner?
Yeah, we're running late on the salmon.
All right, guys. I think we should why don't we just call the show? It would be cheap if you don't keep buying new gear. But it gets better and better. All right, everybody. I'll keep arguing with George in the chat room, but I think we're going to... we won't know, Sandy, until I get the show completely up and it's in the podcatchers. Yeah, Steve makes a teriyaki salmon with a sriracha mayo sauce. Oh, it's delicious. We can send you the recipe if you want. We have paprika. All right, Steve, you can go, and I'm going to stop broadcasting.
Steve out.
Steve out. Did Marianne leave already?
God is gone.
Stop it. Okay, bye, everybody. Bye, Rose. Mwah.